Morning, everybody. Gratitude and forgiveness are the two virtues, irrespective of the religious faith you profess, the caste you belong, the state you reside, the language you speak. They are common virtues in the Indian customs. So let me begin with expressing my gratitude. Firstly to Chamber for giving me the second attempt to present a paper to such a beautiful August gathering of learned chartered accountants and advocates coming from across the nation. 2019 Lucknow and now 2024 at Agra. Nothing to do with Modi ji's election campaign. Gratitude to Mahendra Bhai for pushing me to stand here today. If it was not because of him, I would not have been here. If at all there is something good in the paper, credit goes to my entire team. Radha Albe who is here, Shashank Mehta, Payal Dedia, Kumar Kale, my friend Nimesh Chothani, my very dear student Dharan Gandhi. I am just doing the role of a playback singer with a very bad voice. Gratitude also to all the group leaders and mentors for spending so much time in analyzing these case studies. That WhatsApp group of group leaders and mentors, of which I had to be the member, was continuously increasing my stress. इतना सब ये लोग क्यों पढ़ रहे हैं? इतना सब तो इसमें कुछ लग भी नहीं रहा है. But a fantastic job done by all of them. If at all there are any loose ends in the case studies, there are errors in the case studies, or if these are not up to the mark, the blame entirely goes to me because of my laziness and other factors. Whatever effort my team had done, I could not devote much time on them. So I seek forgiveness if I am not able to keep up the expectation of this August gathering. Respected President of the Chamber, galaxy of past presidents, our veteran senior Kishore Bhai, many seniors in the profession, all professional colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning to you all. I am too small to call myself as a co-speaker, but the senior speakers, Radhikant sir, Pradeep Kapasi sir, Mahendra Bhai, and for tomorrow's session, Ganesh sir and Desai sir. It's indeed a matter of privilege for me and a proud moment for me to be listed among all these stalwarts. We are at Taj, in the city of Taj, and now only two things come in between you and Taj Mahal: my presentation and the lunch. So I'll try to finish up as soon as possible. For almost 2 decades of my professional life, I have been a teacher, and I'll share one top secret: how teachers can complete the syllabus in any given number of time. You can teach a chapter for 50 hours, you can complete it in 5 hours. Without audience being aware कि उनके साथ मैंने क्या किया. And when any student asks any question to the teacher, if the teacher is not able to answer, we have a very simple strategy. We said this concept will be cleared after chapter number 5. And by the time you reach chapter number 5, in all probability, the student has forgot that doubt. If at all there is some very serious and sincere student who still recalls that doubt and the promise which the teacher has made, then we have a strategy number 2. Shout at him and say, in chapter number 5 there is such a basic doubt of chapter number 1. I am not doing your homework properly. Finance Act 21 replaced 45(4) with a new section, introduced 9D, very new provision, practically not much seen. Case study 1 dealing with that. And we told all the group leaders, case study 1 is compulsory for all of them. If you are not able to complete it in time, you may skip some other case studies, but you must do case study 1. Because I wanted to be enriched and learn 40/4 and 90 from all the intelligent group leaders and mentors. And with that political strategy, I'll skip case study 1 and straight away go to case study 2. Because enough time has been burnt for case study 1. At least let me save some time. Audible? Yes. Thank you very much. हैंड्स फ्री के ज़माने में हाथ में माइक पकड़ाओगे, assumption of jurisdiction by the assessing officer under section 148 on the basis of 197. Financial year 12-13 or financial year 11-12. So property worth rupees 1 lakh, only 75 lakhs payment made. Registered agreement, no return of income filed. Income declaration scheme introduced by Finance Act 2016, giving a one-time window. Pay some tax and surcharge and penalty to the extent of 45%. and declare the cost of acquisition or the fair market value, whichever is higher. Fair market value of the property was 2 crore at the time of declaration. 45% of that 90 lakhs tax was to be paid, out of which only 45 lakhs tax was paid, and therefore the declaration is invalid. 197B says if you have not paid the tax as per the scheme within the time permitted in the scheme, then the undisclosed income shall be chargeable to tax under the Income Tax Act. But a little complex situation, not a case where he has not paid any tax, not also a case where he has fully paid the tax and got an immunity under the income declaration scheme. The typical wording where any deduction has been, declaration has been made under 183, but no tax, surcharge and penalty referred to in 184 and 185 has been paid. As per 184 and 185, he had to pay 90 lakhs rupees. He has paid 45 lakhs rupees. Question arises, do we say no tax, surcharge and penalty has been paid? If the first part of the sentence is not attracted, that whether no tax would envisage a situation where nothing has been paid, or it will envisage a situation where whatever was payable has not been fully paid. Then the second part of the sentence, the consequence, undisclosed income shall be chargeable under the Income Tax Act, and in the previous year in which such declaration is made. Now against the declaration of 2 crore, sum of 90 was payable, he has paid 45. Can it be said that no tax has been paid? If we say that no, some tax has been paid, and if we go by strict interpretation or strict wording of 197B, then 197B should apply only in a situation where nothing has been paid. It will lead to an absurd situation. However, if we interpret the other way around, then also it leads to an absurd situation. One absurd situation in favor of the department, another absurd situation in favor of the assessor. If I have to pay 100 rupees as per the IDS, suppose I have paid 99 rupees out of that 100 for some calculation, because initially when the IDS was introduced, it was to be paid only in one installment. Later on they amended and they gave 4 installments. And practically we have seen many cases where there was even totaling error. Drafting case studies we have exact figures, round figure में लेकर हम लोग कर लेते हैं, but in real life situation when the figures are odd, tax payment is odd. I seen in my office practically cases where tax was short by 100 rupees because of totaling error. Can you say no tax has been paid as per 183, 184? Very harsh situation, just because I have short payment by 100 rupees. At the same time, other way around, suppose out of 100 rupees I have paid 1 rupee and not paid 99 rupees. And I say, you can't say no tax has been paid, I have paid at least 1 rupee. And therefore you cannot reopen my situation and reopen my assessment. At both the ends, it would be a very harsh situation and very absurd. The middle path in my view is the theory of proportionality. Before that, group has also discussed 187.3, which says that if you have not paid the tax, it will be deemed as if the declaration has never been made. We have clause B in section 197. We also have clause C in section 197, which has later been omitted with retrospective effect. But when originally the scheme was introduced, 187.3 said declaration shall be deemed never to have been made if you don't pay the tax. And then the same scheme envisages 2 situations in clause B and clause C. B said that if you have not paid, filed a declaration but not paid the taxes in the year of declaration, it will be considered as income. C said if you have not made any declaration, then in the year in which the notice is issued, it will be deemed that it is an income of that year. C obviously of course had been a very draconian provision. It could have been led to an unlimited situation of reopening with an unlimited time frame, and therefore later on it has been removed with retrospective effect. But at the time when the scheme was there, when 187.3 was there, still 197B was also there and C was also there. In my humble interpretation, you cannot stretch 197B to the extent that the moment I read 187.3, declaration becomes invalid and therefore 197B itself does not apply to me. According to me, that could not be the correct way of reading it, and therefore for the purpose of the scheme, if you have not paid the tax fully, your declaration is invalid, and the result of that is given in 197B, that in the year in which you have made the declaration, it will be considered as your income. There was one view also that as per the amendment in Rule 3 of the income declaration rules, the proviso which has been inserted, the main rule says where the undisclosed income is represented in the form of an investment in the asset, then the cost of acquisition or fair market value, whichever is higher, is to be taken. A proviso which was later introduced, it said that if the investment in the immovable property is represented by a registered instrument in writing, then the stamp duty value in that instrument as indexed from the date of investment, from the date of that instrument till the year of declaration, it is financial year 16-17. Undisclosed income will be restricted to that extent. Now in this case, he has made a wrong declaration, unmindful of the proviso inserted in Rule 3. As per the correct position, the valuation would have been 1 crore 32 lakh, but the wrong declaration included an amount of 2 crore. So there was a view that if you consider the correct declaration of 1 crore 32 lakh, correct valuation of 1 crore 32 lakh, and then further that out of 1 crore rupees, what was the original cost of acquisition, he had paid only 75 lakhs rupees at that time, the undisclosed income, and therefore only 75% is an undisclosed income. So taking further that 1 crore 32 lakh to 75%, it comes to 99 lakhs. If you apply 45% tax on 99 lakhs, the 45 lakhs which you have paid is a full compliance with the IDS, and therefore this 197B itself will not apply. In my humble understanding, that view may not be correct for the reason that though you have made a wrong declaration, but subsequently you have defaulted as per that original declaration, and the scheme of the income declaration scheme envisages various forms. Form number 1, you make an application. Form 2, they just acknowledge the application, and ultimately they give you Form 3, Form 4 and Form 5. So that makes your declaration valid. Till that stage is reached, there was an overstretching to the extent that the correct amount should have been 1 crore 32 lakh and 2. I have paid only 75% as an undisclosed income, 132 ka 75%, and therefore I am compliant. I think it is too much of overstretching. But to the extent of proportionality, I would say if no tax has been paid, should be interpreted under 197B to the extent of unpaid tax. And we have a very simple figure, 50% tax has been paid, 50% is unpaid. So to the extent of 50% of my declaration, though procedurally may not be valid for the purpose of the IDS scheme, but for the purpose of chargeability of undisclosed income, for the purpose of applying 197B, 197B should be applied only to the proportion of unpaid 50% portion. Otherwise, all the assessees who have, say, for example, short paid only by, say, 1% of the tax, department will say 100% amount is undisclosed income, and that will be too harsh an interpretation. So going by reverse calculation, as per the form itself, if I paid 45 lakhs, that means 1 crore rupees of my declaration, at least for the purpose of 197B, reopening cannot be done to the extent of that 50%, reopening should be done to the extent of balance 50%. However, 147 requires assessment of income, escaped income which is chargeable to tax. If the view of proportionality which I am trying to envisage is accepted, then to the extent of 50% there is no escapement, only 50% can be considered to be escaped income, and even under the substituted reopening provision, though the phrase reasons to believe do not find place in the new reopening law, but the fundamental question of escapement of income remains, and therefore assessing officer has to apply in mind as to what is the escaped income. So if he reopens going by the presumption that entire 2 crore rupees or 100% of the investment for whatever value, whether 2 crore, 1 crore, 32 lakh, 100% is an undisclosed income, probably it could be a case of challenging the very reopening itself, that there is non-application of mine and 197B has been applied in toto, and therefore the entire reopening is bad in law. Of course, an adventurous view. A for advocate and A for adventure. So we like to take adventurous view. If this adventurous view fails, that no, you cannot say that the whole reopening is bad for non-application of mine, because ultimately in the assessment 147 only sets the ball rolling, and ultimately in the assessment the officer has to find out what is the escapement of income, and just because he has reopened to the extent of whole, at the stage of reopening he cannot say that total non-application of mine, and therefore reopening is valid. You may find in the course of the assessment, that is what is the amount of escaped income, and that is the second question, what is the amount of escaped income. Two alternatives. First of all, what is the import of 197B? Surprisingly, the term undisclosed income is not defined in the entire income declaration scheme. 183 only says that if you have an undisclosed income which you have not disclosed in the return of income, 2-3 situations given, but undisclosed income, that term is not defined. Subsection 2 only says that if it is represented in the form of investment, then the fair market value as on June 2016 shall be deemed to be the undisclosed income. Now that's a deeming fiction, that the fair market value as on 1st of June 16 will be deemed to be an undisclosed income, and subsection 3 says that fair market value shall be determined in terms of rule 3. Now 197B, it says if no tax has been paid, applying the theory of proportionality, it says to the extent of 50% tax has not been paid, then what is the consequence? The second part of 197B says undisclosed income shall be chargeable to income tax under the Income Tax Act in the previous year in which the declaration is made. So whether 197B is only acting as a bridge between the IDS and Income Tax Act, that this was the scheme of IDS, if you do not fulfill this criteria, we will throw you out from this scheme and take you to the Income Tax Act. And once you go to the Income Tax Act, you need to find out under the Income Tax Act what is the undisclosed income. That is one view. Other view could be that the entire 197B would operate and override the provisions of Income Tax Act and say that the undisclosed income, whatever was for the purpose of IDS, will only be the undisclosed income for the purpose of the Income Tax Act. In alternative one, if 197B is merely shifting you from IDS to the Income Tax Act, under Income Tax Act, whether it's a normal scrutiny assessment or whether it is a reopening, what is chargeable is the charging section, section 4, it is the total income. Total income is defined in section 2 clause 45, total amount of income referred to in section 5, computed in the manner laid down in the Act. So the computation of total income has to be in the manner laid down in the Act and not in the manner laid down in the income declaration scheme. which was a part of the separate statute Finance Act 2016. If that view is accepted, then how do we determine the undisclosed income for the purpose of the Income Tax Act? 50% of whatever is undisclosed income, whatever is the quantification, under IDS, once we go for the proportionality theory, the 197B should be applied only to the extent of 50%. Then only 50% part should be taxed here. You can't tax the hypothetical figure of 2 crore. Because first of all, 2 crore is the fair market value as on 1st of June 2016. Income Tax Act nowhere envisages a situation of taxing the fair market value under the Income Tax Act. And therefore, you need to determine undisclosed income under the provisions of the Act. Now, under the provisions of the Act, what was the undisclosed income? Is the investment which I had made in the property. The investment which I had made in the property was 75 lakhs. Out of that 75 lakhs rupees, which I had not shown, 50% have already paid tax under the IDS, applying the theory of proportionality. 37.5, that is 50% of that 75 lakhs may be considered as an undisclosed income for the purpose of the income tax. Second view, you import entire IDS into the Income Tax Act and you say whatever is undisclosed income under the IDS will be the undisclosed income under the Income Tax Act by virtue of 197B. Then there could be two further thoughts. One, 2 crore rupees, the amount which you have filled up in the form. So apply 50% of 2 crore and 1 crore considered as an undisclosed income. Second would be 2 crore rupees which were disclosed under the form was an incorrect figure. As per the second proviso which is inserted in Rule 3, I should take the base stamp duty value, further index till the year of declaration, that comes to a figure of 1 crore 32 lakh. 50% I get under 197B, so 50% of that figure, 1 crore 32 lakhs, 64 lakhs should be considered as an undisclosed income. So one alternative, you apply only the Income Tax Act and you say 37.5 lakhs in undisclosed income. Another alternative, you say the undisclosed income also to be computed under the IDS only. So that will give you a figure of 64 lakhs, 50% of 1 crore 32 lakh. Both these alternative on the basis of a sound reading, rational reading of IDS together with the Income Tax Act, that the theory of proportionality should apply and assessee should not be punished disproportionately for a failure to pay a small amount out of the IDS liability. In our example, out of 90 lakhs he has paid 45 lakhs. If you don't apply a theory of proportionality, then 100% would be taxed again under the Income Tax Act, and then the question number 3 would arise, what would happen to the 45 lakhs rupees tax which I have paid? But if out of 90 lakhs rupees, suppose he had paid 89 lakh 90,900 rupees, only 100 rupees is the shortfall, and you say no, still then the 100% should be taxed under, that will be too harsh a provision, and therefore I am going by the theory of proportionality. If you go by the theory of proportionality, for question number 3, sorry, before that, the clash between 2 crore and 1 crore 32 lakh, one more way of thinking is that Article 265 says that no tax can be levied except under the authority of law. And the authority of law under the Income Tax Act, I do not find any provision to tax the fair market value of 2 crore rupees. Therefore, it should not be taxed. Secondly, there is no estoppel against the law, series of business to that extent, merely because I filled the form incorrectly. That should not be thrusted upon me, that even though the correct computation should have been 1 crore 32 lakh, but you have used a figure of 2 crore rupees, and therefore you cannot take a position that correct amount should be 1 crore 32 lakh. That will go against the basic canons of equity. Series of business, there is no estoppel against the law. Even if I fill a return incorrectly, I can always take a legal position that the correct income should be chargeable as per section 4 as per Article 265. It is a duty of the officer, the very old circular of 1955, duty of the officers to find out the correct income, to correct deductions, exemptions, etc. to which the assessee is entitled. So coming to the last question, what will happen to the 45% tax? If we go by the theory of proportionality, the question number 3 itself will not arise. 50% tax you paid under the IDS, so forget about that 45 lakhs. Only 50% amount will be chargeable under the income tax act. So whatever is the tax liability, interest you pay under that. But if you do not agree to the theory of this proportionality, and you say now 100% again will be taxed under the income tax act, then what will happen to the 45% tax which you have paid? Section 191 says any amount of tax surcharge paid under 184 or penalty under 180